right, Mike, where are we?
We're at League. We're at Hex and Co.
Hex and Co. Thursday night throwdown. 3 rounds. Bare-knuckled, pre-modern. What happened in round 1 with you?
So, just to give some context, our whole idea here was we were gonna live record a tournament. It was gonna be like super exciting round by round. And in round 1, we didn't get to do round 1 because I had a bye, which theoretically should give us lots of time. But this idiot went to turns and lost in turn 5.
Yes.
Lost in the actual turn 5.
Yeah. So game 1 was I'm playing Devour. Brian is playing Psych-Tog. I played Defense Grid on turn 1. Brian duressed me taking a Intuition instead of an Altar of
I thought he
Dementia.
should take an Altar of Dementia there.
Yeah,
right?
So my hand was just Mana Sources, Intuition, and Altar of Dementia. He took the Altar of Dementia, thinking that...
Intuition is just a scary unknown, really.
Well, he is correct in the sense that with the Defense Grid on the battlefield, his blue-black deck with no way to remove it, if he makes me discard Intuition and I play Altar, and I only draw Altars and Flings, then that's smart, right? Because if he takes the Altar and then I draw Intuition, and then I just Intuition for Tinker, and then I can Intuition for the missing piece no matter what. So if he is missing interaction, then I can always Intuition for the good card based on what I draw. So I think that's at least one reason to go about it. But instead, he took...
Wait, so I just want to talk about it from my perspective. I vehemently disagree. You already played a soul land on turn 1 in order to play the defense grid on turn 1. You can just easily just play the Altar in the next turn, and Intuition is no less than 6 mana. It could be 9 mana, but it's no less than 6 mana. You can't use your mana over 2 turn cycles because of your own defense grid. So if you're going to use the Intuition, you have to use the Intuition, which reveals what you're getting with the Intuition, which allows him to, he can plot out what he's going to do next.
But he's powerless against the defense grid because he can't remove it.
But he's already powerless against the defense grid.
No, that's what I'm saying. So he's Psychotog, right? There's no way he can win before turn 10. So
that's not
let's assume typically he can't win before turn 10. He's not going to win before I can put together a win, right? Because basically if he takes Altar and I have Intuition in my hand, then I have basically all my outs, right? So I have all 15 outs because he's discarded 1 plus 3 more Intuitions, right? So I have all 15 outs. Versus if he takes the Altar, or if he takes the Intuition, then I get reduced to 8 outs plus the 4 Intuition.
So I'm going to blow your mind. I don't know if you saw this. I saw it all 3 games. I don't think you won game 1. I think so Lanny played a turn 2 Altar, which wasn't duressed, and then had top decked a Phyrexian Devourer, and then top decked the land he needed to cast it.
A Lotus Petal, actually.
A Lotus Petal to cast, and he cast it and he said, "You're dead," right? I'm pretty sure Lanny lost the game, and neither Brian nor Lanny noticed. So if Lanny plays it, and then decks Brian, which takes, 50 power or so, Brian wins the game. He had a Cephalid Coliseum in play. So you deck him for whatever, he doesn't go to draw step. If you needed most of your library to do that, he could have just killed you.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 Intuitions remaining plus 3 Devourers remaining, and then all I have to do is have 3 cards in the library at the end. I'm pretty sure I can get it. He doesn't have 50 on turn.
Maybe not. I would have made you do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the...
Well, then, actually, I get meaningful information because he can bluff being Dreadnought if he scoops there. If you're thinking in absolutes, right? Because if he shows me his deck, then that's a lot better for me. I see that he has no foils. I see that he has 1 foil. I see that he has 0 dazes. I go into game 2 knowing that if he has mana tapped, I'm completely invincible. That's a much more meaningful way.
In my universe, I make you do it on the off chance that I can beat you with the Cephalid Coliseum.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it's in my deck and it's in fact in play.
Yeah.
And I will have Threshold. I will have Threshold.
All right, so then I caught the bye in round 2. What happened to you in round 2?
So game 2. Well, let's just talk about your first round match.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't finish. So then, going into game 2, I had a really sick start of turn 1 Ancient Tomb, Chromatic Sphere, Xantid Swarm, resolve a Goblin Welder and put another Soul Land into play, and then my hand, and then on Brian's turn he casts Engineered Plague, and on my turn I was planning on just intuitioning for a Devourer or two to weld
into a Devourer out.
To weld in play. I sided 2 Devourers out. So I was just going to intuition for 2 Devourers to weld into play, and the Engineered Plague had foiled my plans. I was prepared for this,
but not fully prepared,
by putting a Ray of Revelation on my sideboard, and then I left the Ray of Revelation on my sideboard. So it would have been a really stylish win to intuition for Devour, Ray of Revelation, then Ray of Revelation, the Engineered Plague, and then
weld the Devourer.
And then weld the Devourer. That would have been really cool, but instead that didn't happen. I spent the rest of the game.
So instead, Lanny intuition for 3 Deep Analysis, and notably, he cast the first Deep Analysis from his hand using an Ancient Tomb, so it was 2 on the way down and 3 on the way back.
Yeah, I dealt like probably 35 damage to myself, and Brian dealt
14 damage.
Brian dealt. So I was at 1 in game 3, and I was at 8 in game 2.
Oh, you mean over the course of?
Yeah.
Oh, no, counting game 1, you dealt a lot of damage to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you had Ancient Tomb as your first and second lands in game 1.
And then we couldn't put it. I couldn't put together. Game 3, I got a pretty good start of, again, like Defense Grid or Azantis, like a Xantid Swarm into a like intuition for triple Deep Analysis. I cast and flashbacked all the Deep Analysis to draw net 8, and just had a hand of Pyroblasts and Ray of Revelation and Rushing River, and Brian had accumulated knowledge 3 times, and we went to turns, and in turn 1 he played a Psychotog, and I Pyroblasted it, and then on my turn I decided to set myself up for a top deck, so I cast all of my stuff.
I thought you played the wrong land. So you played the City of Traders, right? To do Sphere plus Pyro. I thought you should have played the Gemstone Mine that you had picked up the previous turn, tapped your Crystal Vein to cast the Sphere, not break the Sphere, and then just pyroed straight with the Gemstone Mine, because that gives you a better next turn.
Yeah, I hadn't planned out my following turn fully because I left myself without a spare green mana to cast the Ray of Revelation.
You're also drawing the same number, so you're going to get the next turn, right? There's no lethal Psychotog in play. So it's better for you to not break the spheres there, as to the degree that you don't have to break all your spheres, because he plays Duress, and he drew 2 Duress in the last turn cycle, right? So you're gonna.
That's actually how I started that game. So to rewind, he plays a Powder Keg, and I had 3 Chromatic Spheres in play.
But you kind of.
And then I was like, okay, well,
kind of committed.
I guess I'm gonna go for it. And then so I just crack all the spheres looking for like second half of combo. And noted, I knew the game was gonna go long, so I didn't want my hand to be clogged with combo pieces. So I boarded out like all the Flings and 2 Devourers, because 2 Tinkers is combo, Tinker Devourer is combo, and of course Tinker and Altar is combo, and of course Intuition Deep Analysis lets you put all that all together. So I figured, like, once I was like 30 cards deep into my library, I would have just found combo plus double, triple protection, and that was one thing that I kind of messed up, because
you had all the protection in the world.
In game 2, I'm looking at my hand, I realize I've got Xantid Swarm, Defense Grid, Pyroblast,
another Pyroblast, another Xantid Swarm, Rushing River.
Yeah, and Rushing River, and I'm just like, I don't need that much stuff. Like I needed some of that to just be Devourer, because I thought I'm like, oh, Blue Black Psychotog is such a heavy control deck. It just has Counterspell, a foil, and sometimes some number of mana leaks, which I can pay for with my Soul Lands, right? Because it's still a really like low energy combo, and I'm like, yeah, that's too much. Like 4 Defense Grid. I only have 2 Xantid Swarms because I couldn't find mine, and then I'm playing Dresses and whatever. But yeah, so I wanted to play Devourer. I wanted things to go to fast because I'm going to try to help Rich Busey test the Stasis versus Dreadnought matchup.
You successfully did not go fast in your match. So in my match,
you're playing Replenish.
I played Replenish. I got revenge on Jeff Ferris. Jeff Ferris beat me in League 2 weeks ago with the Quiet Oath deck. He's playing it again tonight. I didn't play in League last week, but 2 weeks ago I went 2-1. My loss was to Jeff. He played first turn Mox, Quiet Speculation for Volcanic Spray,
Call the Herd, and Ray of Revelation.
So, which against my first turn Island is a tell that he has the Quiet Speculation in his hand.
The Deep Analysis.
Deep Analysis, sorry, in his hand, right? And then he just didn't play a land on turn 2.
Yep.
So
Mox Diamond doing the Lord's work.
So there. I defeated him easily. Like, he just didn't play a land on turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, the line you took was at least interesting. You kept a hand that was triple attunement.
2 land.
Two lands, both of them basics, like Island, Flooded Strand, Opalescence, and Replenish. And then
I had all the time in the world because he just didn't play a land on turn 2.
And then your following turns were Attunement, Intuition, just to make sure that you have 2 Opalescences, and then combo. So you draw your 3rd land, you miss your 4th land drop, but you got your 4th land drop on turn 5, and then that was all she wrote.
He drew a land. He strip mined my.
Yeah, sure. So it was like turn 6.
My Ancient Tomb.
It was turn 6. Oh yeah, you had Ancient Tomb on turn 3.
Oh, because I would have comboed him on turn 3 if he didn't.
On turn 4. On turn 6. So by turn 6 you have combo with Opalescence backup. So that's super good. Going into game 2, you sideboard in 2 Annuls.
And 4 Sabo's Web.
Which
had basically no text, because he just didn't draw any of his special lands.
Yeah, that deck has, 3 Treetop Village, 3 Port, sometimes
and Wasteland.
more. Wasteland if you walk into it.
But sometimes Wasteland just gets tapped for a Call of the Herd.
Yeah, exactly, if you walk into it. If Jeff cooperates. So
it's also a cantrip, that's the thing. Like, I'm removing Intuition and replacing it with Sabo's Web as like my smoothing.
So in this game, you start with Island and you annul a Sylvan Library on Jeff's turn 2. And then you untap.
And I counterspell a Call of the Herd on his turn 3. Which you think is terrible. And it turns out being terrible because I immediately draw Parallax Wave.
Yeah, that's one reason why Call of the Herd is like kind of just... I don't even know if it's good against Replenish because you have to only ever cast 1 at a time. Because if you put a second Elephant into play, it's horrible. And also, if you go Elephant and they go P-Wave, then you have to wait for that P-Wave to fade all the way away before you put the next Elephant in play. At which point, they might just go second P-Wave or Replenish, right?
In this game, I had everything, but Jeff put up like a really good fight in the mid-game. Like, I set up like Opal Wave, and he just has Naturalize, right? Then I like follow up with Tide, and he just has Ray of Revelation, right? So like so then I'm just sitting there with an attunement in play, and he plays like Meddling Mage, Exalted Angel, and he names Plow Replenish with his Meddling Mages.
And you have an attunement in play.
Yeah.
So if your opponent...
And 2 attunements in my hand.
Yeah, if your opponent has attunement in play, you name Replenish with Meddling Mage, and if they don't have an attunement in play, then you consider naming Parallax Wave.
So of course my deck cooperates and gives me a Parallax Wave. I wave out his mages, and then
it was actually the turn that you needed it. It was the turn that you needed it because Jeff had like lethal damage.
I didn't have to use my attunements though, right? Like
you didn't have to dig.
I had enough life total that I could have played another attunement and a soul land if I drew one that would have gotten me out of it.
Yeah, I mean the sequence was pretty tight because your deck needed to give you P-Wave and Replenish in the window that you still have counters on your P-Wave, which
it did.
Right, which is what your deck did for you. I think like the other, like, I mean,
Jeff has no land in play at this point because I've tied it.
Watching your match, my conclusion is that Replenish should not bother playing any instants because you're forced to counterspell Call the Herd because you have nothing else going on.
Well, I just wanted to use my mana.
Thanks, Lenny.
Thank you.
I O2'd, but
that's okay. You learned. I'll forward you the info for the guide on this deck for the future.
Okay.
That's Alan. Alan is
new
and borrowing my Stifle Knot deck for his first 2 matches of pre-modern. I had to explain to him the Parallax Tide interactions.
There's a podcast he can listen to about that.
Well, there's like several because we just don't stop talking about Dreadnought on our show.
Are you referring to your own?
Yeah. The one that we're recording right now, in fact.
you're 1-1 with the bye. I'm 2-0 with the bye. So this is a high skill, high skill week.
A lot of efforts for wins here. But yeah, so I was saying no instants in replenish, because if you want to cast attunement, you have to like wait until turn 5. Like that seems pretty bad to me, considering what else are you like? So you're just gonna hope, like you have to counter whatever your opponent plays on turn 2.
So I'm playing a deck that is very similar to Mike Packer's deck from Sacred Torch. Not exactly the same main deck, but very, very similar. And then a very different sideboard than you or Mike played. But I think if you're going to play a combination of counter spells, you played one miscalculation, right?
Yeah.
I think it's probably right, because I have
All miscalculations.
I have 3 counterspells and 2 mana leaks, and I'm pretty sure you want more mana leaks than counterspells, not more. I think you want at least 1 counterspell to keep them guessing and to keep them honest, but miscalculation is just
Yeah,
pretty
because
good.
if you have miscalculation on turn 2 against your opponent's Call the Herd, like that's their turn 3 play, you're like, okay, I'll cycle.
Also, the other thing about it is...
Oh, and you needed to make your land drop that game too.
Yeah.
So like miscal could have been even better.
The other thing about it is, if people know that you're like a control replenish deck with counterspells, they typically play around mana leak, so you get the benefit of mana leak only having to pay the cost of miscalculation, which you can just cycle.
Yeah, that's a good point. So your opponent's like waiting to play their big thing with 3 mana up, and you're like, fine, it resolves, and then you cycle miscalc.
Yeah, so like the right configuration might be like 2 miscalc, 2 mana leak, 1 counterspell, or 3 miscalc, 1 mana leak, 1 counterspell. I do think you want a counterspell.
Yeah,
but
I think counterspell's good.
But you want to lean on miscalc, not lean on counterspell. Also, like it makes your like land drops easier, because like I literally played Island because I had counterspell in game 2.
Right, but you could have.
I could have played Island Flooded Strand, and I also had a seal, right? So when I lost to Spencer a few months ago, the night I 4-0'd with Replenish and then lost the 5-0 again, like I just played a seal in that spot instead of leaving up a mana leak. So I mean, he was playing Elves, completely different, right? And then because I wanted a seal to interact with his survival. We're podcasting, Rich Busey. You can come over. So I think like you have just some more flexibility, right? Like actually having to play Island is much worse than, I mean, it's less flexible, right? And I think you get a lot if you go. I think miscalc, mana leak, counterspell is probably superior to 3 counterspells, 2 mana leaks, which I have.
I mean this is like the hidden effect of being forced to have UU on turn 2. It's that if you ever want to have WW2, the fastest you can have that is on turn 4 now. So if you start on UW, then you can have 5 total lands in play, or 4 total lands in play, and cast everything, because you can go UW, dual land, soul land, and that can cast your whole deck. And the moment you stop playing lands is the moment that you can convert your lands into cards with the 2-mana. So you can do that with UU like basic island, basic plains. So it's fine because both are 4 total lands. I think the better thing is like being able to start dual land, and then have the option to go soul land. Now your opponent's playing a wasteland deck, so that's a little bit less like whatever. But the other option, of course, is to be able to open on like Flooded Strand, dual land, and then you have the option to play either Tide or P-Wave next turn off of soul land or that kind of stuff. So
you don't have that much control over it, but
yeah, depending on how many lands you have in your hand. But the point is, like, the fewer lands you can have in play that let you cast all your spells, like, the faster you're able to just be like, okay, now it's time to spin attunement and, like, not worry about my lands. But, I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of, like, the awkward thing is, like, having counterspell in your deck basically means, like, you're almost never casting a turn 3 WW2. But, of course, the deck as it's designed right now isn't really too concerned about that. And then if you are playing a variant with Frantic Search, you can acquire that extra W through the soul land.
So
maybe it's not as bad. I just talked to myself out of it. I'm like, normally I hate having UU in play because I'm like, oh, can't wait till I get WW. But it's actually the same.
So I'm very tickled about like this kind of evolution towards control replenish like Mike played at Sacred Torch. Because I'm just playing all the cards I played at LobsterCon, right? Just in a different configuration. Like I played actual counterspell. This is something that DTI and I talked about, I think he was playing like Arcane Denial back then because he wanted hard counter, but I'm like, screw Arcane Denial, I just don't want it, right? Like, so I had actual counterspell in my deck, and then I had also Factor Fiction in my deck. And Factor Fiction is so fantastic in Replenish. I don't know why more people haven't tried it. I think Fran had a video about it like 2 years ago.
It just makes
so good.
It just makes. I mean, people have tried it and they've played it, and the problem is just like, where do you put more 4 costs when you already have between? I mean, in your case, you have only 13 4 costs, right? But you can, or you have how many facts do you have main?
2.
So you have 15 4 costs instead of 16, right? But it's like necessarily you have to shave 4 costs because you can't start 16 4 costs and then add 2 more. Like, that's the only reason. Or either that, or you can play 4 City of Traders.
No,
and then you can.
I love just playing all these basics. It's
No,
so good.
It is good, right? I'm talking about in the world where you want to support Factor Fiction. Like, everyone's known about Factor Fiction. Like, obviously it's good in Replenish because they can never choose a pile. But
it's always 5.
But the bigger problem is just like, okay, like, you just need to survive until turn 4. You're already a deck that is like mainline cast Replenish on whatever.
But this deck basically plays like a kind of a Weissman Fortress deck. It's like not land still. It's just like plows and counter spells like in the early game, right? Someone who doesn't know your mana base, right? Like, you don't play an Ancient Tomb or whatever, they could mistake you for. What if you go like second turn counter spell, like third turn basic island, like plow that mana leak? Like, you just look like land still.
So I'm with you if you wanted to go this route and be more Factor Fiction-y if you don't have Attunement, because like Attunement and Factor Fiction.
Attunement's very good in this deck.
I know that Attunement's good in the deck, but the problem again is just like, well, if your plan again is to like play a control game in the first 3 turns, then Attunement doesn't necessarily help that. Like, it's like same thing.
So,
it's like if you're going to hold up Counterspell on turn 2 and you want to hold up Counterspell on turn 3, the extra copies of Intuition are more important. And then if you're going to hold a Counterspell on turn 4, then Factor Fiction becomes better Attunement. Right?
I think this version of Replenish, like Mike played it, is very just suits me. Like, I always played Replenish slow. Like, I was always just like, lay out like 4 casters until your opponent runs out of interaction and then get them. I don't think when I made my run at LobsterCon, it was 2022.
Yeah.
Is that right? I don't think I fast combo replenished anyone except for the red decks that I beat, and I only comboed them by intuitioning for my squee combo.
Yeah.
Right. So I would So nobody plays this anymore, but at that LobsterCon, I played 3 squeeze, 4 careful studies, and 1 solitary confinement in my main deck. So I just intuition for solitary confinement and squee, and then replenish back the solitary confinement.
Well, so this is the problem.
That's the only
right?
thing I did fast.
This is the problem, right? So when you played this in the GP Andy 1K, you lost to Burn and Dreadnought.
So
right?
let me just preface this. I played really badly that day, right? Like, I should have 4-0'd with the same draws.
Look, I would say that, the games the way that they go, if they come down to a small margin, you can just.
It was one decision both.
You
matches.
you can award your opponent the same, efficiency. Like, maybe if you close an efficiency gap, right?
Maybe they can. Sure,
they can equally close it, right? So I'm not going to say like, oh, your Dreadnought opponent didn't play perfectly, but I just kind of I'm like.
He's a friend of SWB's. We talked about it on Monday. He's just like, he just likes to jam.
Yeah.
He force jammed all 3 games. He jammed me game 1 on the play, and I came back. I got him eventually with an intuition for 3 plows. It was spectacular, right?
Yeah, there you go. 4 mana plow.
Game 2, I looked at my hand. I'm like, if he doesn't jam me on turn 2, he can't win. My hand was like Meddling Mage, Seal of Cleansing. I had everything that you would ever want that isn't a Swords to Plowshares, and he just jammed me on turn 2. And I'm like, all right, Seal. He's like, Daze. I'm like, I have another answer, and he had the foil that was set up by the Daze, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then in game 3, I had Seal, Abeyance, Annul, and like 3 or 4 lands as my draw, and he just jams on turn 2, and Abeyance is the coolest play, right?
Yeah. If your opponent has like the 4-leg parlay of Dreadnought, Enabler, counter, days that matter.
Yeah, dead foil. So
days that
foil,
matter,
right? So
plus foil, because the only that's 1 in 4 1 and 8 and then 2 and 8 between
Oh,
aces
like
and
this
foils,
game
plus
is
all the islands.
this game is a 1 in 256 loss,
Yeah.
right? Like his draw itself is like 1 in 40 games, right? So the problem is if I just annul him instead of obeying, he has to foil, right?
Yeah.
Or he has to foil or give up the dreadnought. Like those are the two options. If he gives up the dreadnought, he's going to lose, right? So, but
Right, because it sounds like he's just not configured to play.
he's configured to jam,
Yeah.
right? He has a daze in his hand,
Yeah.
right? So he foils there, and then I just cast the seal, and the dreadnought's dead.
Right. So my overarching point is just like Replenish as a slower deck has
It's
the problem
so good.
has the problem of sitting in the awkward place in the metagame where like a deck can be faster or bigger, right? So like your mono blue tide, like your opposite ends are going to be like mono
No
blue
one is
tide.
really
and
bigger.
Devour.
It's like infinite everything, unless your opponent has a prohibitively high life total.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like bigger in resources. Like they have more
Well,
card draw in their
it's
deck.
weird.
They have more interaction.
Everyone is bigger in resources than Replenish until they're not, right? Like
No, but that like what do you think happens against mono blue tide control? Like you just get tided out of the game. Like
yeah. So it's actually one of the matches I won on Saturday. It's a disadvantageous match. They have more blue mana than you, right? Which,
yeah,
and
not by a lot. Not by
and
a
they,
lot.
you know,
yeah.
they have a lot of counter spells, right? So, I won game one because I had a seal cleansing as a prophylactic, right? Like if you have a seal cleansing in play, it's kind of hard for them to go off. Like they have to
It's not hard.
It's kind of
It's not hard because if they have Stifle, then they just have to wait till they have 5 mana, and then if they have Chain
yeah,
of
but
Vapor,
all
it
these
doesn't
things are
affect.
slowing them down, right? Like, and I have Soul Lands.
Well, let's be clear. It's not really slowing them down if the fastest they can tide is when they have 5 mana in play, because like the fastest they can tide is when they have 4.5 mana in play, and then most of the time they don't even want to Stifle tide you when you only have 3 lands in play if they're on the play or 4 if they're on the draw.
I'll be honest.
I wouldn't say that Seal Cleansing matters in that situation, but what I will say is just like this is a deck that has a reactive and a proactive strategy against you. They have a lot of counter spells and they have a lot of mana die.
I don't know that they are advantaged in the sideboarded games, and certainly I think that Replenish, like how I have the sideboard configured anyway, I think is...
Yeah, you have 4 Sabos Web.
I have 4 Sabos Web, Annuls, and Meddling Mages, right? Like, I don't know that his first play was Fairy Conclave in game 3, and I played Sabos Web. The game was kind of already over. Like, he can't develop, and then I'm just attacking him with Meddling Mage. Like, his defense to Meddling Mage is like Quicksand and...
Powder Keg.
And Mishra's Factory. Like, Mishra's Factory defending against Meddling Mage against Sabos Web is really dubious, right? Like, he like is just basically walking into like whatever interactions I want because I'm ahead on mana. So, and then I don't know how much card draw he had, but I mean I have 2 Foffs. Like maybe he has 3 Foffs. Well, he has AKs. Yeah, but I have Sabos Web, so. I don't feel behind in the sideboard games.
Well,
Game 1, clearly.
You can also just look at Packer's match against Andy V at the Sacred Torch. Like that's also like one that is vaguely emblematic of some of the
Andy
Volmer. Yeah, he just dusted.
Oh, he hit.
Dust Bowl.
So
right.
I made my deck for Grand Prix Andy V because I wanted to play a deck that I thought would be good against the Oath decks, which I didn't play against.
Right, but
also that I would beat Andy V because I know he had Dust Bowl strategy, so I want to play a lot of Sabos Webs.
All I'm saying is that the Oath decks are exploitable in exactly this way because they play a lot of cards that care about creatures, and like you don't have any creatures, and as a result, they can't sideboard into a configuration that does enough against you because like they don't have. Meddling Mage is not proactive enough, right? You have to have like Meddling Mage and counter spells.
It's weird. They're kind of like, I hate to put it this way, they're just kind of like the Rock with even less card advantage, right? Like they're always a little behind because their cards like Sylvan Library and Mox Diamond are like
Sylvan Library, Mox Diamond, and Oath are all -1 when
they're
cast.
like all drag cards, including in sideboarded games, and you have like Annul, Seal of Cleansing, and then also like 3 different combos that can get
Although,
them.
to be clear, Sylvan Library is extremely good against Replenish.
It's very
It
good.
does say draw 4 cards
Right.
and ponder every draw step, unless you have something to say about it.
People play 4 copies, or I guess that deck only has 3 copies.
I mean, there are versions of the deck because people love to cut the Sylvan Library, and somehow, after
This is a case that I wouldn't.
Yeah, this is after many years of pre-modern. I only played 2 Sylvan Library in my Parfait deck.
The one that you 2023.
The one I took Lobster on, and I was willing to go down to 1.
But that's a different. You had land tax.
Well, I would probably just play 4 Sylvan Library in that deck now if I built it.
I mean, we
in
have
2025.
It's really weird. Like, we actually have different language than before. So today in what do you call it, the bougie Discord? What Discord is it?
That's just the supporter Discord.
The supporter Discord.
Yeah.
So we were talking about a standard deck that I made, and Rich Busey said, "Oh, this is just Enchantress." I'm like, I was thinking the same thing, and he said, I wish there were more anchors.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Like, we now talk about anchors and deck touching, These are, okay, well, the next round is starting.
We've been Rich Shayified. Well, that was a fun one.
We'll meet you after round
30
3.
minutes. Yeah, we'll see what happens at the end. Round 3 has concluded. I lost to Rich Busey. I was playing Devourer, and Rich Busey was playing the better Phyrexian. How did your match go?
I kept a very good opening hand, which was Skycloud Expanse, and Ancient Tomb with 2 intuitions and a bunch of pieces.
2 intuitions is all you need, right? First one gets your enchantment. Second one gets replenish.
I had Replenish also in my hand.
So you just
so he mulliganed to 6.
all right.
Okay. So he mulliganed to 6. I was feeling pretty good. But his hand that he kept was a counterspell and 5 lands, but 2 of the lands were wastelands. And
That's pretty good against Ancient Tomb Skycloud.
Discarded 3 times before I went Addercar Waste, Sword Sepulchres on a lowly Basking Root Walla. And that counterspell was... I'm sorry, and that Sword Sepulchres was counterspell.
Unreal.
So I literally just lost to a Basking Root Walla.
You lost to Wastelands and Survival Madness is the important thing.
No, he didn't have anything in game 1. So game 2...
No. You lost to the card Wasteland
in
coming
Survival
out
Madness.
of Survival
Yeah,
Madness.
so-
The card that we're telling everyone is
Horror bad,
completely
right?
horrible.
So-
and yet, people keep on getting Wasteland landed out of the game.
Yeah, so
with Survival
my deck
Madness.
is, 5 2-mana counterspells and 3 or 4 seals in the main. And I'm on the play in game 2, and he just sticks a survival, and I don't have interaction for it, and he just accumulates a handful of Mystic Snake.
That's amazing.
So
What are you supposed to do? Meddling Mage naming Mystic Snake, I guess.
I mean, what I did was nothing, because I said, your deck is so bad, I'm not going to sideboard. Because I was really so anyway, so he beats me very quickly 2-0. And he's like, well, do you have more respect for the deck now? And I'm like, God, no. Your deck needs Island followed by Mono Forest, and you drew 2 Wastelands to beat me in game 1. And I would say the same thing. I say always, Andy Bulmer's a very good player. A very good player should never play this deck. This is a deck for, a dum-dum to play. Right? You don't want your wins to come from rolling dice. I mean, you want your wins to come from rolling dice when your opponents are better than you. Not when you're a really good player. I want to play against Andy Bulmer playing, Flanstill.
I don't know. I think Survival Madness has some potential there. I think at a minimum, the deck should be playing Birds of Paradise to fix its mana. And then
You can't get around he has literal days to go with Wasteland.
Well, you can pick your poison, right? So you can choose.
There's 11 forests in the deck or something. It's
it's actually like a mono blue deck splashing green because you use your Careful Study and Frantic Search to make your green sources. But I think the deck can afford to play Birds of Paradise, and I think that there's something to be said for the idea that you can your card advantage is such that you can have some non-functional hands. Because I think that most people don't understand about the Karsten number is that it's just a curve, right? So sure, if you want to play a deck with perfect mana, you should just play Mono Blue Dreadnought, or you should play Burn, right? But absent that, you're just making a choice that it's okay, well, my deck, instead of being powerful, 90% of the time is only powerful 80% of the time, or I'm going to mulligan at a certain percent more. But the upside, if it exists, is that you can wasteland people out of the game, and that if you do hit your colors and you can cast your spells, you're a very, very powerful deck.
I think
on the back end, I don't think that getting all your colors and being paid off in the form of
a 2/2
arrogant worm is necessarily it. And I also think that the 2-color mana base might as well just be a 5-color mana base at a certain point.
And you might as well be playing a Lurin.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a number of things, but I think that a lot of the cards in Survival Madness are exciting. I like that it's not overly dependent on survival of the fittest, and I like that it has the Squee looting engine, and then it has like just madness stuff, and then it gets to counter spells, and I guess it gets to wasteland things. That's the one part that I just like don't really get. Like, I wouldn't play wasteland in my Survival Madness deck, but by all means.
I think.
How about some Mox Diamond and your wasteland?
This is just so you're just taking a deck that is subject to a tremendous amount of variability and making it more variable. And so if you're going to do that, you have to play a deck like Devourer, where the payoff is just winning the game, right? Like, you don't want a deck like this which has like a Rube Goldberg device worth of like, you know, mice in a maze to get your basic stuff online in order to play a 10-turn game of Magic. Like, that's not a good recipe. So, like, this is the way I would look at it. It's just like, imagine a universe where all the decks are equally good, right? Like, Burn is equally good to Dreadnought, is equally good to Madness.
You need to like at least observe the fact that your own deck is so inconsistent in that it can't answer Survival Madness or Survival of the Fittest into Mystic Snake or Wasteland.
That was in that one game, and I also refused the sideboard.
But that's the point. That's, you know, you're hoisted by your own retard. Replenish actually has a lot of the problems that are similar to Survival Madness, because Replenish has to play some number of colorless lands. It has a heavily wastelandable mana base. It's extremely dependent on getting certain cards in play, which other decks can suppress very easily.
My deck has 11 wastelandable lands and 15 non-wastelandable lands. I just drew 2 of the 11 wastelandable lands.
Right, but if if Andy gets to reroll his draw, and his draw is just like survival and Mystic Snake, it sounds like he's good. He's good on the back of that too.
So I think that the matchup is not that bad for Blue-Green Madness. I mean, like, Blue-Green Madness is essentially a counter sliver deck, right? You know, I guess people call it a Delver deck these days, right? Like, it's just like you get a clock in play and then you use your counter spells to control the tempo of the game rather than to try to control the game. And that's traditionally excellent against resource-dependent combo decks, right? So I don't think it's that bad fundamentally, but I don't think you can compare the decks. The payoff of Replenish is close to the highest payoff.
I'm just saying it's
Survival Madness is like
I'm just saying it's demonstrative of how inconsistent Replenish is in this context. Right? If you lose to Survival and to Mystic Snake, then you have to start asking yourself questions about, like, you know, whether or not, like, obviously Replenish just gets to score against the rest of the field, but like, this is kind of the point. It's just like, you know, earlier, you're excited about this deck. You feel like
I think the deck's great. I would play it again.
I obviously think the deck's great too. Like, I also played the deck. But the problem is when you beat, like, the Oath decks, which are kind of in a weird spot right now. Like, we don't know exactly where they're hitting, if they're like over leveraged on defeating Enchantress and then they just like don't look that good, or like they're good against elves, right?
It's important to, I mean, a month ago, I don't remember how long this was, like, ago, when I played SWB 3 times in 1 week, including in the top 4 of the bearded 1K, I felt like Enchantress was grossly overpowered. And I feel like Enchantress is a very good but not overpowered deck anymore.
Well, this is my point. What's the point of playing Oath if Replenish also beats Enchantress and elves, and then it also beats Oath, right? Well, what kind of place is Oath going to have in the metagame?
I made a statement in the supporter Discord, which is that, like, if you step back far enough, right, it's always a prime directive question, right? Like, because, like, if all decks have the function of dealing 20 points of damage to their opponent, then there's always just a deck that is objectively better than other decks.
That's not actually true. But that's not actually true because of Nash. Like, the point is, you would have Nash equilibrium.
but then it's contextually driven, right? So like, imagine for sake of argument that like Mono Blue Dreadnought is just, that's the best deck, right? Like, and it's the best deck by whatever measure we're gonna say. It's the fastest, it kills the opponent's fastest, it has the best strategy, it is whatever you want to say, like, but like the only decks that people play other than Dreadnought are decks with like Swords to Plowshares, Whip Quarter.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right here. Like, you're way too high in the clouds. Like,
no, I'm just saying, like,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but it's just completely irrelevant. Like, the reason why we play is because there's a metagame. And the reason, the point
that was the point I was going to make about the Oath decks, is that people want to cast quiet speculation and do cool things, and that's why there's the Oath deck.
Well, that's not true. Like, the Oath deck existed. Like, you're not talking on the same like parallel type. Like, you need to at least have a good faith argument for the existence of a deck. There is one. Like, the Oath deck has Oath and it beats Enchantress, right? So like, it exists in the metagame because it preys on Enchantress, which is a deck that I really wanted to beat, and then it has Oath, which has some amount of score against the random nonsense portion of the field.
So,
right?
But I understand what you're saying, because I would look at it and say like, well, we got to the point where I feel like Elves was way ahead of Dreadnought heads up, but the Oath decks are really good against Elves. But your argument is just like, well, Replenish is really good against Elves also. Crushes the Oath decks is a great game against Dreadnought. Like, why play the Oath deck?
Yeah, but that's why there should be a metagame impact. So like that, the follow up there is just like, okay, well, what can you identify that Replenish is going to be worse against than that Oath is going to be good against? Random stuff like Survival Man is like a good example. And there's just kind of like a general,
for sure.
There's kind of like a general weird thing about Replenish is just like the ways in which it's bad are like very strange. Like, you can lose because your opponent just has like Duress Withered Wretch and you just didn't find, Opal Wave in time or whatever, because because you were getting attacked. You can lose because of Survival Mystic Snake. You can just lose because of Wasteland. It's like, these are all cards in the metagame that, even in...
This is why we bother to play the games.
Exactly,
right?
But that's the point, is like, even in sort of like the weirdest worlds of weird, like the portion of the metagame that has like weird jank in it, it's not Nash equilibrium, but it still creates some semblance of equilibrium, which is like keeping Replenish from escaping. And then that's the point about it, right? Is at the end of the day, like, the score is the score. 1-1 by. It's just
everybody has. Everybody has bad things about their deck, right? Like, Replenish's worst quality is that it's full of 4-drops.
Yeah.
That means that like it. Everybody since they started playing from the very beginning was complaining about dying to Mana Screw, right? Like, the deck that's full of 4-drops is going to die to Mana Screw more often than the deck that has
I'm just
2 mana spells like Oath of Druids.
I'm putting together a case as to why, so there's kind of 2 cases against Replenish. One is that it's too expensive to be very powerful in the metagame.
Too expensive, in terms of mana, or in terms of
costs, like the
economic costs.
Yeah.
The
okay, dollar cost of the
I'm
cards.
trying to understand what you're saying. Okay.
The other question is that I think that maybe, just maybe, Replenish is just a good deck, and it's reaching this point. I think I didn't make this point on record, but I feel it now. I honestly think that Replenish is just, I said this on the cast. It's just like Red Green Oath. It's just like a deck that does its thing pretty good. It has a lot of matchups that are going to struggle against it, because the core thing that it does is hard to interact with. It uses the graveyard, it uses the battlefield, and then sometimes it uses the stack or even puts creatures into play at the same time. On the other hand, it has these weak points and these weird inconsistencies that keep it from being
I see where you're coming from. It's hard for me to agree with that. V taught me 25 years ago, and it's hard to articulate. And he said something along the lines of, in order for a deck to be good in the field, a deck has to be good. And
you don't think that Red Green Oath is? I think it's above the threshold of good for a metagame.
No. I feel it's clearly good in the metagame.
No, as a good deck. You just don't think it's
I think
a good
it's
deck.
just garbage. But the problem is, when I was thinking about this and like comparing it to Replenish, like you're saying, like Replenish has like a lot of bullshit wins, right? But Red Green Oath has so many bullshit wins, right? We're just like, sometimes you're just like ahead of their strategy and they just cast a Terravore. The Terravore only costs 3 mana. It's like 100.
I mean, I think
so like sometimes you just don't get to play any cards because you had a mana light draw and they drew 3 Winter's Grasps, and like those are well within the range, and it doesn't feel good to lose those games.
I think that Replenish is very much the reason why I think Replenish is the same is that basically the thing about Red Green Oath that's like dumb about it is that it just casts a bunch of Stone Rains and wins and then whatever. And Replenish very much so is like a deck. It also has to play 1,000 lands, right? We're talking 26 versus 28 land decks.
Well, it can filter its lands better.
Yeah, it can. It has very little interaction sub 4 mana, right? It just has Swords of Plowshares and Seal of Cleansing, and then post board.
Sometimes it has counterspell.
Sometimes it has counterspell, right?
It's a great sideboard.
And then afterwards, it just starts playing. Like, it can be Stone Rains, it can be 4-cost enchantments. You're just playing one card after another, and if your opponent like does something that's faster than that or can ignore that, then you move on to your secondary plan, which is hope that you drew Pyroblast, or in this case, hope that you drew Mana.
So let me just go back to the thing that I said where you asked the follow-up question of like, oh, I don't think that Red Green Oath is a good deck. The deck that I was trying to show Zvi in 2000, I'm like, I think I made this.
Is anybody in there? You're just having a bad time.
So I said, I think I made the best deck, and the reason I think it's the best deck is I think it beats everything, right? And he looked at my deck, and he said, well, in order for a deck to be good in the metagame, it has to be good, right? And that deck was Napster. And then the next week, he called me up, and he's like, I played 9 matches against a variety of decks, and I won them all, but this deck still isn't good.
Yeah, I mean, Vampiric Tutor is card disadvantage. Somebody
so Napster has a lot of cards that you would look at, like kind of like from like not 300 feet, like 30 feet. You're like, this is a questionable card. I'm like, well, what's your plan against X? Well, we get a Thrashing Wumpus in play. The Thrashing Wumpus kills everything, including itself, and then we hope to Ritual Yawgmoth pull the Thrashing Wumpus back. That's how we deal with this difficult board position.
So you think that the Napster of this format is Red Green Oath?
Oh, no, that would be far too great of a compliment to Red Green Oath. Red Green Oath is like, it's funny, it is a Stone Age technology deck in some ways. But the problem is, like I said before, people die to Mana Screw, and it doesn't feel good to lose to Red Green Oath because it has so many non-games.
It's got to be the only plausible Stone Age deck in the pre-modern format, because Random Beatdown, not represented.
But Stompy is actually kind of like a mid-technology deck.
I mean, we'll see if Stompy can put up the same numbers as Red Green Oath. I'm just saying in comparison, right? That like Random Beatdown doesn't quite get there. Burn is the closest to Red Green Oath.
To like a kind of a Stone Age deck.
Yeah. Burn and Red Green Oath,
but it's very
occupy
elegant,
the same space. And then the Rock unplayable, and then
there's like a collective now, like, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people would fight me on this about the viability. No one is really like championing the Rock anymore, right? Like even Hoyt.
Between 2023 and 2025, many more matches of pre-modern Magic have been played, and the few who are clinging on to the idea of the Rock have since gone on. I think that bottom line, you play your pre-modern league, you play your events, and you're in this situation.
I did win a meetup with the Rock last year.
Well, fair enough. So we're almost just. I mean, obviously, this podcast is just about running in circles, but it's very interesting to try to think of what to do next, because I mean, at the end of the day, what did you change about your replenish build? You just like have a lot of Sabo's Web in the sideboard, and then you cut all your red hate. Like, that's something.
Yeah. So cutting my red hate was, and that punished me. I lost the cap.
Yeah, but that's something that can just like oscillate, right? That's just kind of like, okay, well, red hate day, like whatever.
Well, I played a lot of Sabo's Web because I knew I was going to be playing in Andy Vollmer's apartment, and he's the
and
the Thawing Glaciers guy.
Yeah, there's there's lands with activated abilities, but the point is like Sabo's Web, you know, is less like a powerful card and more like a contextual card. And then whether or not it comes in over Red Hate is just like a random back and forth. The Dreadnought deck basically feels like the same place. It's like you can play Essence Flare instead of Red Hate, but you're not going to change.
I like that now.
You're not going to change too many like core things.
I think
like,
the main deck is pretty not set.
So I mean, the main deck of Dreadnought?
Yeah. Some people play no Mistress Factories. Some people play accumulated knowledge.
It doesn't matter because no matter what Dreadnought list you're playing,
12 of those cards are not moving.
No, 40% of the games are just going to end exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And your flex slots just decide, like your flex slots are for deciding what happens between turn 5 and turn 20, right? And you can approach those turns however you want, but how you approach turns 1 through 4 doesn't change.
Really, how you approach turn 2?
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
So what I'm saying is, I thought it was a little interesting how Lan was saying that pre-modern feels like precons. Like these decks are starting to feel like precons, and I'm starting to definitely feel that where like the top tier is just very, very solid. Like the Replenish deck, I don't think I've tried everything. I've tried build that at Burning Wish. I've had Mox Diamond in the deck, like in all the reps I've played it. I've played Mono Blue Dreadnought to death. I'm trying to play Blue-White Dreadnought and trying to see if it has any angles. But even then, it fundamentally just feels like it's in the same place, and it can't flip any of the matchups that Mono Blue want. Like Mono Blue is like most interested in flipping. It's
demonstrably better in the quasi mirror. That's the reason why you play it.
Well, that's what's kind of interesting about that point is that I actually think that it's not great in the mirror because of a number of factors. Like you can obviously you end up like boarding a lot of cards that look good, but like at the end of the day, your ability to play kind of depends on your ability to draw to play card advantage. And like the mono blue deck, like this is how David Raska initially built his deck to beat Grotog, was just by adding Flash of Insight. So if you want to play a blue-white Dreadnought that succeeds in the mirror, you have to keep all of the card advantage in addition to having Meddling Mage and other tools. And then you're just playing a 12-card sideboard that lets you board out all your Dreadnoughts.
Let's say we're in like game one situation, right? I don't really accept that 2 Mistress Factory is going to be 2 to 4 Swords to Plowshares and 4 Meddling Mage, right? Because that's the pivot point, right? Like if I stick Meddling Mage, you can't win game 1 unless you have Mistress Factory. Like that's the entire thing.
I mean, some number of powder kegs are hanging out in the decks as well. So generally, you would like play to like. My point is that you would end up being able to play your Power Keg Chain of Vapor with enough backup using your Flash of Insights to do card advantage, because at the end of the day, 1, the Meddling Mage has to resolve, it has to pass that first step, and then 2, like then you kind of move on to the second phase where you have 10 turns, or else you stalemate the game with the Mistress Factory, and then you can like kind of out card advantage. I don't want to get too in the weeds of the mono blue Dreadnought versus blue white Dreadnought mirror. I did play it recently.
Which side?
Blue white against mono blue. And
you are the blue white side.
Yeah, and we split games, and then I won on clock in the third game. So it was just closer than I would have liked, and I had like a kind of ridiculous sideboard thing. And the other point is that you can kind of outmuscle, but like the overarching point is just that creating space in pre-modern is definitely getting more difficult, and like what we're doing to...
Well, it's a finite card pool, right?
Yeah.
There is a limit.
Right, absolutely. But, you know, it felt like, you know, there was kind of... I mean, the last 8 weeks or something, the Oath deck has been really exciting, but it's also been kind of weird because it's kind of like has... most of the cards we kind of know what like we kind of get the feel of the deck based on what it is, so it's just like adding Quiet Speculation to a deck that we already have a feel of.
Here's my thought about this, right? Like if if some percentage of the motivation is you just want to do something cool, right? Like you just want to have an experience.
No, that's not the point. My point is like, I want things to be like revolutionary instead of evolutionary. Like I think that a lot
When was the last time that happened? Do you count the mono blue deck?
I count the Tide deck. Yeah, I count Tide and Cyborg right now.
All right, so
because that broke everything open.
I feel like
it just flipped the format on its head.
I feel like this is comparable. It's not as magnified, but it is comparable.
I think it is definitely. I think it's definitely comparable in like that way, but
it's a lower magnitude, but it is comparable.
Yeah.
It is not.
No, I agree, and I think that it's almost like What's funny is that what it's done is it's brought Oath back into the metagame where it wasn't before, which actually just makes the space for decks containing creatures like back to the pre-2024 levels, right? Because we had Red Green Oath and it was kind of holding down creature decks, and then we had Dreadnought that could crush Red Green Oath and Replenish that could crush Red Green Oath. So Red Green Oath became a lot less palatable. Then creature decks could kind of hang. So we saw Enchantress, which kind of sought to solve the Red Green Oath matchup, but Elves especially, come back into the fore, and then
not anymore.
And then an Oath deck come back and be like, wait a second.
Now there's an Oath deck that can Demonic Tutor for double Pyroclast.
Yeah. And so it was just like,
but it won't accidentally kill my own Mishra's
I heard you guys were having fun over here. I'm going to do something about that, and then that kind of became the end of it. So I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like we are actually in exactly the same spot that we were in 2024. Just like,
that's
Enchantress is a deck now. No, it's not bad. It's just like Enchantress is a deck now. So there's two decks that are putting Opalescence and Parallax Wave into play. Call the Herd is back to being horrible.
Well, that's great for you.
Meddling Mage is back to being good.
You could never beat a Call of the Herd. So now that it's horrible, this is great for you.
All right. Do you have any other overarching? So
I actually disagree with a lot of the stuff you were saying. I'll tell you why. First of all, the Duress Crew event was won by that weird black-green deck. Okay?
Yeah.
And then if you look at
it beat both Oath and Burn, which is pretty unreal.
I think he 2-0'd everyone the whole day. I don't think he lost to anybody. Like any games.
Yeah, he basically did.
I think he 2-0'd everybody.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I think he lost one game to Replenish. He lost one game to Replenish and one game to Dreadnought. But you can, if you ask, that he has an episode on Duress Crew now, so.
Good night. So that's one thing. But then the other thing is, if you look at the top 8 of Sacred Torch, right? Packer's deck that's evolutionary, not revolutionary, like by definition.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Well, Packer's deck is kind of like Packer just picked like that's how he liked to build and play Replenish before he became an Enchantress player, and then now he's back to being a Replenish player, but only on off weeks.
But if you go back just a few months, right? Like I think that the big leaps in technology are like Xantid Swarm and Enchantress, Carpet of Flowers in Enchantress, and now Carpet of Flowers in the various Oath decks.
Yeah.
Xantid Swarm becoming adopted by other combo decks after Enchantress shows them the way,
Yeah, well, and Enchantress and Devourer, because there's 8 copies of, there's like
16.
There's like
Xantid
a lot
Swarms
of copies.
at the top 8.
There's like a lot of Xantid Swarm in the top 8.
That I think that there's been a lot of really cool innovations in this past 12 months. And I think that the black-green deck is so emblematic of this, because like this is not a deck that I would ever really like. Like, oh yeah, this is what I've been dreaming my whole life to play with this.
This deck just moves forward in a straight line, man. It's just got like survivals, infestations, like mongrels and brute wallas and like arrogant worms. It's just like got 10 different flavors, but they're all gonna be it's all gonna be a creature.
So I wanted to I think I talked about this on the podcast. I made a deck very similar, but I had Hermit Druid. But my Hermit Druid just got land. Like it was like a card advantage engine. So you Hermit Druid, you just get a basic forest sometimes, but you're milling the graveyard guys at the same time.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked when I saw the black green deck. I'm like, oh, this is very similar to what I wanted to do. I wanted to play with like Wild Mongrel and Survival of the Fittest.
That is an angle that's interesting of just like value Hermit Druid, because the card does technically read tap draw a card.
Yeah, so
and sometimes it's tap draw 5 cards and all your creatures have haste.
So, but my deck had Squee and Ashen Ghoul.
Yeah, so
right?
it's draw
So
10
like
cards. Yeah.
Ashen Ghoul is pretty powerful. You know, like so in a format where Swords to Plowshares is kind of accepted to be the most powerful card, you know, like having a ton of like Hermit Druids and Ashen Ghouls and Wild Mongrels where like you can't really let any of them live.
And survivals.
Yeah, like this is like
But hold on. And then we actually just only play like maybe because we can use fetches to lower our basic land count. Let's play like 7 basic lands, and let's play some Icarids, and then our Hermit Druid activations start getting really exciting.
So like that was the deck I brewed it in my head, right? But like
or you can just reanimate a Terraform.
Yeah, but so here's the thing, I'm like, okay, here's like, oh wow, this is novel. I mean, is this really better than just I have a math problem where, you know, 1 in 4 games I have a Hermit Druid in play on turn 2. 1 in 3 of those games the Hermit Druid survives. You know? like if my Hermit Druid survives like 1 in 12 games or whatever, isn't it better to just win?
Yeah, that's true.
That was really why I stopped exploring this.
I mean, maybe you just win anyways, you just don't win that turn, right? So it survives, you get your value, that beats most deck. I mean, think about it. If you're going to turn over like 2 Cabal Therapies, some Icarids, some like whatever, like you could just put yourself in a situation where you can't lose. You don't have to win.
I got a lot of the...
Hold on, I'm back. We're brewing. Hermit Druid, Icarids, Cabal Therapies, like... And then you can also do Wild Mongrel. I hate Zombie Infestation, so I might leave it out. Because the thing is, Madness stuff and Hermit Druid don't hang, but like all the flashback shenanigans and like whatever and Hermit Druid do.
Ashen Ghoul with Cabal Therapy and Hermit Druid?
Yeah.
Come on, man!
How can you lose?
So like, here's the thing though.
So how many cards do we need to turn over? 25 on average? Just activated twice? Okay, so we play 3 basic lands.
I got a lot of the itch that I wanted there scratched by playing the Artie Reanimator deck though.
Yeah.
I mean, I just cast a Terravore and then just made it big enough to attack 2 or 3 times. That was pretty cool. You know, like just fair Terravore.
Oh my god. We stepped outside because I thought...
You thought it'd be quieter?
The game store was closing soon and I just like, whatever, but this is like the loudest day in Manhattan. All right, so my final point is Call the Herd bad, Meddling Mage good, Replenish average, good average, but average.
It's great.
Dreadnought good average, Enchantress good average, Oath Spec.
What did you rate? What did you rate Dreadnought? Good average.
Yeah, good average.
What's Burn?
Slightly below average.
Wait, so you have Oath Spec above Burn.
Oath Spec average, slightly above. T-Get slightly below average. Elves now slightly below average.
No, Elves is like Cellar. And I love Elves, and it's Cellar, dude.
Yeah, and we had a good
week.
like 6 weeks of Elves. Rest in peace, Elves. June 2025 to July 2025 to like mid July 2025.
I was so high on Elves, and then
I loved Elves too.
But you know, I look back and I'm like, my 2 decks going into Sacred Torch before I got tricked into playing Devourer.
You tricked yourself because you played Standard.
You were there the night before. You're like, Mike, if you're going to do this, you might as well just play Devourer. You tricked me. So if I hadn't done that, my 2 decks going into Sacred Torch were Elves and Stompy, and then
just Elves and Elves, yeah.
But then I was like, oh, you know what? This tournament's important to me. I think I can play Burn really well, and I showed you my Burn deck, and you're like, I can't believe you already cleaned up your Burn deck from the stupid league, right?
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to rock. I had the good printings of everything ready to go. And then if I had just played Stompy, I don't know. Like Simon played Stompy, and he
Yeah, but this always happens.
16.
Like as soon as you lose, you start thinking that your deck choice wasn't that good. But that's just like random. You had to make
did
a
not
decision.
play great.
You had to make a decision to play the deck that you thought was the best, that could win matches to give you enough time to play a second match of standard blue-white control directly afterwards.
Yes, I was.
Addendum, on the day of, you would not shut up about how good you thought Devourer was, even though you lost 5 straight matches.
Well, here's the thing. I was selecting only among decks that I thought I could win my match in like 10 minutes. So
I think Devourer was the best there.
And then I went 0-3 in the pizza queue anyway.
Yeah, that was the other problem.
So like I won all of my game ones, and then and it's not like their sideboards were so much better. They just like, I literally played this guy and just like drew 3 Kaidos in the top 12 cards. I beat all 3 Kaidos, and then he had the 4th Kaido.
People are going to think that New York City is dangerous. It's fireworks and not gunshots.
Illegal fireworks and not...
as opposed to the legal kind
legal guns.
else.
No.
Oh,
illegal
guns, yeah.
instead of legal guns.
All right, we should save our listeners' ears from this.
All right,
but I think it's super raw. Love Skype like calling it that man on the street. It's that verite style.
They can't hear you over this hot dog truck.
Okay.
All right,
Love Skype calling.